the achievement gap for all students, we have to do three things. One is create better leaders. A second is to stop boring students to death with traditional schooling. And a third is to bring about change from the middle outward. So let's talk about each of those. The first one, which is we call change leader, you can use any label you want, but a change leader does basically two things. One is they help the group shape and reshape quality ideas. And the second one is they engage in a process where people develop capacity and ownership about those ideas. So there are only two things. One is the quality of the idea, and the other is the quality of the process. If you don't have both, you get nothing. So it's very important that the change leaders engage the group that way. If we think of examples, and we've been filming schools, so we know what this looks like in action, I want to go to Park Manor, which is a senior public school just west of Toronto. The principal's name happens to be James Bond, and yes, he does refer to himself as 007, but you don't have to be James Bond to be this good. He arrived at the school, Park Manor, and his staff was mainly young people, beginning teachers, rookies, let's say, who had a lot of, they were keen, but they also didn't have a lot of confidence. And so he said, we're going to build, focus on instruction. We're going to get better at it together. We're going to link into what students need to know. We're going to assess where they are. We're going to build on that. And he said, above all, I want people to feel free to take chances, to learn new things. And he said, I want to be comfortable in front of you saying, I don't know how to do some things. I want you to be comfortable in front of each other, and with students, the same thing. So let's create this climate and let's get going and doing that. And they did that. And they began to bring about the changes. A key thing for the change leader is that they have to participate as learners, that phrase, participate as learners with the rest of the staff and moving the school forward. A second thing is that they have to enable the staff to learn from each other. We call it, if you want to change the group, use the group to change the group. So that's what they did. They got great results, engagement. They used stickies, which were on the wall of a picture of the students, all the students in the staff room. How are they doing in terms of literacy and math? What can we do to work with these? They worked in small groups. They did a combination of things. They got great results. Their writing, for example, grade 6 on the province average. They started with at 42% high proficiency, and right now they're at 83%. So this is big success. And now they're going into deeper innovation. You'll see in these examples, there's a growing ascendancy of this role of the student as partner in learning, teachers partnering with each other, the principal part of that group. And so as they go forward now into the deeper innovations, they're using technology a lot more to accelerate the learning. So a very clear example of what this looks like, change leaders, and change leaders have to be that effective. The second factor is we need to attack boredom of traditional schooling. So when children go to kindergarten, after adjustment, they start to enjoy it, and they have a few years of enjoyment. But after that, there's a steep decline in the enthusiasm they have for schooling. You can see the graphs as they go all the way. By the time they get to grade 9, almost only a third of the students are still engaged. And that really is one of the principals we talked to said, well, the teachers actually are bored too, that they didn't know it until we began to change it. So if you think of traditional schooling, there's not much life in it, and that has to change. And a good example of this is secondary school. Central Peel Secondary School, which is a highly diverse, big district altogether, 240 schools. It's near the airport in Toronto. And the principal, whose name is Lawrence DeMeyer, came in and he said the first thing that I noticed was there's not much life in the place, that people didn't have much confidence. That the school had gone from 1,300 students to 950 over the previous years. And he said that something had to be done. And what he did was, he said, in his words, he said, I created a culture of yes. And he said, sounds like a small thing, but it's actually a big thing. I wanted people to start trying new things. I was going to help them. I was going to learn with them. And one of the symbolic things he did early was in an assembly with 900 students, and said, I want everyone to get out their personal devices and let's start playing with it. And so he got onto Twitter and said, how do you like school? What's your favorite subject? What should be improved around here? And the whole place kind of blew up, and you could probably you're thinking that this is a recipe for chaos. 900 kids with these devices legitimized to go do what they want. But interestingly, it didn't turn out that way at all. The students started to, and the teachers started to use these integrated with the teaching. Again, the student as partner in learning got very evident. And over a period of about a year and a half, this developed successfully. And I talked to one teacher who said, I'm on my second career. I was in another career. I thought I would like teaching. And 2 years ago, I thought I should go for my third career because I didn't want to come to school. Nothing was much happening. She said, now, 2 years later, the energy is just fantastic of the students, of my other teachers, and that kind of brought the whole place to life. So a very good example now of we have change leader in both principals. And now in the second case, high school, we have a really an exciting, engaged group that are, the numbers are going up in the school again. Graduation rate, which was going down, is now reversed. So really a great place to be. So that's the second factor. The third one is if you want to change a system, you have to go from the middle out. By the middle, I mean school districts. So if we think of the state level as one level, we think of the districts as a second level, and the third, the schools and the communities. We know that top-down change doesn't work because people, it's too complex. They won't, you can't run it from the center, but we also know that one school at a time is too piecemeal. So where's the glue? Where's the coherence? And we're finding it that if we can get districts and schools to learn from each other, if that's the strategy, it actually accelerates the system as a whole. And a good example of this is California, where we're working. If you want complexity, go to California. 1,009 districts, well over 10,000 schools, really lots of layers of complexity. They haven't been doing well the last 30 years, so not a lot of excitement or enthusiasm. And now we and others are using this leadership through the district level. One group of 10 districts, we're advising the leadership of that consortium to do the things that we're talking about, implement changes, new roles for teachers and principals as school leaders. So another group we're running ourselves, 3 districts, and doing this. And the work that they're doing is they're learning from each other. Who knows how to, for example, do the best with English language learners because there are huge numbers of immigrants in California. How do we teach math more effectively? So they're kind of drawing on the ideas of the group and doing that on purpose. 3 things happen in this case. One is the district gets better because now they're drawing on wider resources internally to their district. Secondly, as districts start to form a bond, 2, 3, 5, whatever the number are, and they start to be committed to helping each other. And the third thing, and this is interesting as well, is they become better partners upward to the state. That the state being the accountability framework, the Department of Education, they become better partners because they have ideas. They become sometimes pushy, and that's a good thing. If you have state leadership, as we have in California now, that wants to take advantage of that partnership can be 2 ways. And then you start to see that movement. California, the educators, hordes of them, have never been so excited as they are now. I think it's still a bit early to call it a success. They've been just doing it for a year, a little more than a year. But we have some optimism because we've used the same strategy in Ontario. Somewhat smaller, but large enough, 5,000 schools, 2 million students. We started 10 years ago, this very strategy, schools learning from each other, districts learning from each other, partnership between the state and the schools. And the high school graduation, for example, has gone from 68% to 84%. This is fantastic, 900 schools. That the literacy has really kind of shot upward for the 4,000 elementary schools. The gap has been closed significantly for English language learners, special education, schools in poverty. These 3 factors, good change leadership, reversing the boredom of students into exciting learning with each other and with teachers, and starting in the middle outward to change the system as a whole, they are producing the results. Anybody can get and be engaged in this. Anybody can do this if they team up and do it. This is really exciting because it works.